Let's do it. Another edition of The Script, a podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. His real name is Cardale Jones. His nickname is Beanie Wells. My name is Dave Holmes. Hit us up right now. If you're watching on YouTube, that's the best version. You can see Beanie Wells dressed like he's on his way to go ice fishing. Take me through. Who are you wearing, Beanie? What are we wearing here?
Oh, man, it's a little chilly outside this morning, so I said, you know what, let me throw on a vest. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Yeah, keep the arms, free, but the chest nice and warm.
All right.
That's what I was going for.
I like that. Hit us up at The Script OSU on all socials. We're also on Apple and Spotify. All right, the Ohio State Buckeyes, guys, 7-0 coming off the bye. Home game against Penn State. The game we all circled back in August, and then we took an erase or two about 2 or 3 weeks ago. How are we feeling about this version of Penn State team that comes into the shoe?
I feel good about it. I mean, nonetheless, we know where Penn State is right now in their season. Obviously, dropping a few games that nobody anticipated them losing. We thought they'd be one of the top teams in the country. They lose a head coach. They lose a quarterback. And now they're just searching. They're searching for an identity. They're searching for a victory to kind of make their season. I don't think it's going to happen nonetheless, though.
No, exactly. I think they had a soul-searching type of moment for their program, for the kind of trying to salvage this season. I mean, some of us up here at Penn State coming out the Big Ten, for whatever reason, I might have been drunk that day. I don't know. But I don't know. It was maybe some of that 4-minute barbecue sauce from those nugs that one. I don't know. But anyways, long story short, I think the Buckeyes handle business easily, convincingly. Penn State, unfortunately, is struggling at all aspects of football right now, right when the Buckeyes are hitting on all aspects of football right now. So, and it's on the road. It's always a great environment at the shoe. It's always a good game between both teams, but it's going to be an uphill battle as soon as they get off the bus here in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay, so we could end the show right now. Penn State's bad. Cardale and Beanie are out. But let me play devil's advocate here. 4 straight losses for the Nittany Lions by a combined 13 points. Combined. Okay. Is it possible, guys? Because here's the thing. We thought that they might win the Big Ten, as we said before the season, based on talent. Yeah, you've lost to James Franklin, and you've lost to quarterback Drew Allar. The rest of the talent is there. And for the past decade, the only other team in Ohio State's league as far as talent in the Big Ten has been Penn State. 4 straight losses, 13 combined points. Is it possible there's enough talent still on this roster and a galvanized group could actually give a run at the Buckeyes in the shoe? That's the take. The other side of it. That is the pro-Penn State spin.
Well, obviously, Penn State has talent. We know that they recruit at an unbelievable clip, especially under James Franklin. He was able to bring in some 4- and 5-star guys and then hit the portal really well. But Ohio State team is just different. This is a different bunch in terms of what they possess on the defensive side and what they do offensively. We have too much firepower. And the thing about Ohio State right now is, we've been watching Ohio State's offense just slowly but surely figure it out. They haven't began to hit their stride yet. Check that. They have hit their stride, and I think that started versus Wisconsin. So they're just now starting to hit their stride and find their groove. We got Julian saying getting more comfortable, and the defense is continuing to play lights out. That's why I just don't believe Penn State has enough to contend with that. To beat a team like Ohio State, you're going to have a team that has gelled well all season long and has found their groove together and that's in sync. And Penn State just not that right now.
No, they're far from it. And I think one thing you can't do or be when you're going into a place like Ohio State and play such a dominant team is one-dimensional. Even with Kaytron Allen and Singleton being in the backfield, and we all expected them to be the 1 or number 2 top backs duo in the country outside of maybe Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price at Notre Dame, is that even with that, they're still struggling running the ball, right? I would think Penn State game plan is to go in here, protect their young quarterback, not going to see him throw a lot of passes down the field, and try to lean on the run game more. And even if the run game was humming, being one-dimensional versus Ohio State defense is not the key to success. So struggling on both sides of the ball for Penn State, where, like you said, Beanie, Ohio State, especially on the defensive side of the ball, know exactly who they are. It's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, so Cardale mentioned a young quarterback. All right, so their original quarterback, Drew Allar, is a Northeast Ohio guy. He's injured. He's out. They now have Ethan Grunkemeyer, who is a Central Ohio guy. He's an Olentangy High School alum, Beanie. So he's going to have a lot of people in the stands cheering him on.
No doubt.
He's going to have more than 100,000 who want him to be killed out there. So what do you think about Ethan Grunkemeyer coming back to the shoe in his hometown?
Obviously it's going to be an exciting moment for him. Every kid that grows up in Ohio, most of them dream of playing football in the shoe. but for the Buckeyes. And obviously him coming in for Penn State, it's going to be one of those deals to where he's going to be excited, trying to galvanize his team, saying, you know what, this team didn't necessarily recruit me, and I should have been there. I should be in Julian Shan's shoes. So let's go out and upset the world. Well, it's just not going to happen. It's going to be a tough environment for him. And, when you got Ohio State's defense and you have a young quarterback, the last thing that you want as an opposing team is to pit him in the crosshairs of the fire of Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. And it's just unfortunate that he's going to be in the middle of that. And Cardale just hit on it. Their offensive line isn't protecting well. They're struggling on both sides of the ball, particularly in the trenches. It's going to be a brutal day for him. I mean, Caden Curry right now has, 7, 8 sacks?
9.5.
No, 9. Oh, damn. I mean, expect that to jump drastically after Saturday.
Yeah, no.
Damn, 9.5 is crazy.
Yeah, I think he got 9.5. I think I just saw that maybe yesterday. I think he got 9.5 sacks. But which is crazy, where we are still kind of on a back nine of the season right now. This is going to be tough. Ethan was a kid that I had a chance to watch here in Columbus and play in some high school football games and thinks the world of him. And I remember when Penn State played Ohio State a few years ago when James Franklin flew into town and on a helicopter or something like that, came over to watch him play. That's what he thought about this kid at a very young age. But it's just going to be tough to find some things positive after this game other than getting this experience under your belt and hopefully building and learning from it.
Okay, I buried the lead. The lead story is Jim Knowles is coming back to Columbus, Ohio. All right, so Penn State's defensive coordinator. For those of you who are listening to the show, you probably know, but he was the DC last year for the Buckeyes, and now he's at Penn State. Guys, there's a revenge narrative here on both sides. I'm not sure exactly how bad the blood was when he left, but is there an advantage? Because I know some people say, there's such an advantage. We know what Jim Knowles is going to do. Well, Jim Knowles knows what Brian Hartline likes to do as well. So what is the advantage or disadvantage when you have a former DC coming back to face your team?
Well, the advantage is he knows the players, and he knows the scheme to a little bit. But obviously there's going to be tweaks. But his biggest advantage is he knows the personnel that's going to be out there on the football field. So he can maybe give some tidbits to his offense and how to exploit some of the defensive guys and once he was coached. And then on the offensive end, he knows what Ohio State likes to do. Now, I expect Brian Hartline to switch it up. But the thing is, when I look at Jim Knowles and I look at everything that's going on at Penn State, the scary thing is, when you had him at Ohio State, to start off, it was kind of rocky and shaky on the defensive side. It's because he had our guys thinking entirely too much.
Yep.
And you can see the same thing in Penn State's defense right now. Those guys aren't out there playing free and fast because they're thinking entirely too much. His defense, it works once you get it, but it takes a little bit of time for players to understand it in its entirety. And I think that's going to be a big hindrance right now, especially coming into the shoe. It's going to be a big hindrance. Ohio State's offense is going to exploit that.
Yeah, and I'm not ripping on Jim Knowles. He did very well in the Big 12, and then he came here and won a national championship. But I will say this. The older his players got, the smarter Jim Knowles looked at Ohio State. By year 3 in his system, when he had the most experienced defense in America, I think that was part of his success as well.
Yeah, for sure, because now you're taking off some of those training wheels. Potentially now guys been in that system for 3 years now they've seen pretty much everything that they can see when you talk about preparing for an offense, and that takes time. Like you said, 3 years. I don't know the last time we had an Ohio State defense or just so many players led by so many 4th and 5th year seniors, like true 4th and 5th year seniors, not guys who was waiting to play, guys who played a lot of football up until that point. Ohio State is a place where you usually go 3 and done, 4 at the most when you talk about top draft picks. So when you have the luxury of retaining all of those guys you did last December before you made that, 2 Decembers ago before you made the national championship run, you put yourself in a position where, the leaders are out there leading, they're out there playing, and all of those guys are almost like coaches on the field.
It's funny because he's going to come back to the shoe this week, and this defense is way better than last year, at least statistically. Maybe we'll see how it shapes out.
They're better in every way. I don't even care what else. The defense is much better under Matt Patricia.
Well, you've been on that since about week 3. So he's going to show up to the shoe, and he's going to look across the sideline and see Matt Patricia. It's like when you run into your girl, your ex-girl at the mall, and she's with a new dude, and he's looking real fit, and you're like, oh, okay, she did that. All right. So what do you guys think? Matt Patricia's thinking as he looks across the sideline. You can't tell me this doesn't matter. We in the media try to make a story out of this, and the players and coaches are always like, oh, just another game. No, shut up.
Man.
This means more to Jim Knowles and Matt Patricia.
Of course it matters. And Dave, you made the Zach analogy that I was going to make. It's like when you have an ex and you guys, part ways and you see her a few months later and like, she's not only was somebody looking better than you, but she's also looking a little bit right.
She went to the gym.
I wasn't like that. Hold on, defense. You guys you wasn't playing like that when I left. I think that's the cat and the mouse game that you put yourself in, especially when you leave and go to in-conference school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's going to suck for Jim Knowles. I mean, not even just it's going to suck on Saturday, but it has to suck when you're watching your old girl, so to speak, just look better in every freaking way imaginable.
And you can't escape it.
And you can't do anything about it.
Turn your phone on, man. You ain't even following her on social media. Oh my God, what is she doing? Live sport?
Algorithms just throw it in your face.
And the thing is, she wanted you to marry her. She wanted you. She wanted to stay with you. You're the one that chose to go the different route.
You want to see the grass is greener.
Exactly. And now you have to watch her get married, have kids, and flourish.
And she about to put another ring on.
Exactly.
I think we carry this metaphor out to the back. All right, so the Buckeyes are 7-0 coming off a bye week. All right, some people say rest, some people say rust. How do you guys feel when you would come out of a bye week as a player?
Obviously you feel rested, and no question about it. But where Ohio State is right now, I think having a late bye week is at the right time for them because they got an opportunity, obviously coming off of Wisconsin, to get some guys a little bit more healthy. They can kind of figure out what they want to do schematically a little more in depth, especially on the offensive end. Like I said, I thought they were starting to hit their stride versus Wisconsin, and now Julian Sand is adapted to what they want to do on offense entirely. Now you can open up the playbook. Now we can start seeing our true offense and see the true potential of our offense and what we have, not just only at quarterback, but at the running back spot too. I don't know if you guys really paid that much attention to Wisconsin. We started playing some other running backs. We got a chance to see Isaiah West a little bit in there. Peoples a little more. I think Ohio State was still figuring out who they wanted to be the RB number one. And I think that's going to kind of continue to evolve. But I think over the next 2 weeks, we'll have this offense all laid out in terms of what we're going to do, what's going to be our identity, and the pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, I think, that's a perfect timeline. And I talked about the timeline earlier this year when, we talked about, spoon feeding, sort of say Julian Sand, and then the emergence of Bo Jackson at the running back position. And then I'm like, you want to hit your strides at the right time of the season. And I think you're starting to be in that right time of the season, a few weeks out after this week to the team up north. We know that game can go any way, and then clearly going into the Big Ten championship game, potentially playing another playoff team, and then clearly the college football playoffs. But when you're talking about coming off a bye week and hitting your stride, and this goes back a few weeks ago when we was talking about our parlay picks, I know we're going to get into that later in the show, and you took Miami coming off the bye, Louisville minus 13.5.
Tripping. I was straight tripping.
In my defense, I thought Miami was going to win that game. I didn't think it would. I thought it would be a tighter game than what it was for Miami to come over the top. But I think it's more important to come off a bye versus a lesser opponent than the emotional win they had over, I think, Florida or Florida State. I think they won in that in-state rivalry for Miami. Then you had all those emotions and the way you guys played, and then you got to take a bye. And how do you revamp that energy playing against a really good team? I think Ohio State is in a perfect position because I wouldn't say it was a lot of emotions spent out there in Wisconsin, but it wasn't like, oh, we figure out exactly who we are. We showed it versus a really good opponent. Oh, man, now we got to take a week off. Then we come back versus another really good opponent, right? That emotional roller coaster, how do you balance that 2 week period of not playing? But I think it all depends on the bye week or who you play before the bye and getting ready to play the team after. So that's why it goes back to my point of the Penn State game. I think it's going to be a good game between Ohio State and Penn State. Penn State's a great freaking team still with a lot of talent around them. I know they're starting to still put things together. But at the end of the day, Ohio State recruited a lot of these guys that Penn State have on their roster.
Yeah. Okay, so the next month looks pretty kind. Home against Penn State, at Purdue, then home games against Rutgers and UCLA before the big one, the finale against that team up north. So let's take a quick vibe here. Let's take a vibe check, a pulse check. I want you guys to give me your grades right now on these various position groups, where we feel about the Buckeyes. So let's start with the quarterback, which of course has only been Julian Sane. He's played almost every single snap. So your grade on the QB so far?
A B. I would give him a B. Kind of on that lower end of a B, just because I want to see him evolve more, and I think we started to see that versus Wisconsin. But nonetheless, I say a solid B. Solid B.
Yeah, Cardale,
Not on the lower end.
You're the quarterback completing 80% of your passes, and your running back says, "Hey, you're a B." What do you think?
What the? Did he just give the third the guy who's third favorite to win the Heisman a B in his performance?
Ladies and gentlemen, you just witnessed history, the first F-bomb in the history of The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. For those of you watching on YouTube and not on broadcast TV, okay, so you gave him an F on his grade. What do you think?
I think because there's always room for improvement. I'm happy to go with a B plus at least.
He's not that far off.
Yeah, but still, he's like a lower end of the B. He's talking about a 79.5%. That's like a C plus B minus. That's what he's trying to give him. But I think the biggest thing, and just because there's always room for improvement for everybody, I think I already know the only group I'm going to give an A on this team. But I think a solid B plus with Julian Sam, because you can see that he still continue to take those strides. And it's just like, man, I don't know where his ceiling is yet, but I think it's a lot further than what we already saw so far.
You guys are insane. It's an A minus. I'm going A minus. 80%, only 3 picks.
But at least a B plus is like a 89.5%. A minus is a 90%.
Yeah,
so we're right there.
Yeah, Beanie's over here going, see me after class.
Yeah, exactly. We need to speak.
Guys, get some extra credit here.
Hey, if he pulled the ball down and run it, maybe I give some extra credit.
Yeah, tuck it and run, Julian. All right, skill position group. Now, this includes running backs and receivers. Skill position.
And tight ends.
And tight ends. Yeah, Max Clare as well.
So this is tough right here. I mean, obviously, you look at our receivers, I think they're at an A, but we're doing an entire skill group. I got to go B minus. B minus. I want to see more out of the run game. When I sat there and I watched the Wisconsin game and I was up close and personal, I saw things that I necessarily didn't like, and I think that we can improve on, especially at the tight end position and at the running back position. So I got to go B minus. I think they could be much better, and that's going to be great if they can be better down the stretch for the team as a whole.
Yeah, you know what, Benny? I think I'm somewhere around there too. I think more of a B overall rather than a B minus, because if it was individual groups like receivers, I would probably give it A and things like that. But I think we have to improve more on the run game and be more consistent. But it's kind of splitting hairs here, because I don't think this team is one dimensional at all. They can get it done in the running game, but I want to see it more consistent, because those are the type of things you're going to lean on clearly at the end of the season. So I'll say a B. Definitely room for an improvement from those guys. But I think what's really holding that up a lot higher is the receivers.
I'm going to say B as well. To me, this is like when you get assigned a group project and the wide receivers are doing all the work. And they're like, come on, the wide receivers deserve better than a B. But like you guys said, lack of running game at times. And the tight ends, Max Clare's been good, but they haven't utilized him as much. And some of that's not on him as well. But I'm going to go a B as well. Offensive line is an interesting one here.
This is the tricky one for me.
Because they're top 5 in the nation in fewest sacks allowed. They're keeping Julian's jersey clean. But the push in the run game. Okay, so what do we think, Beanie? Right, offensive line.
So offensive line, I'm judging them a little more harsh.
Here comes the running back.
Yeah. I mean, I'm judging them a little more harsh because, there's not an offensive lineman in the country that loves to just sit back and pass it. Now, they've been doing a great job doing it, but that's not who you are. As an offensive lineman, I got to use the words of Bobby Carpenter. You're an earth mover. You're supposed to move people up out of there. And we haven't been doing that consistently. So I got to go C+ for the offensive line. And I know you guys may be looking at me, and if some of you O-linemen see this, take it to heart. Please do. I want you to take offense to it, because I know you guys can be that much better and that much more dominant, because I've watched you guys evolve, and I know we got some new pieces to the puzzle, but C+.
Professor Wells out here with the bulletin board material. Professor Wells is tough to impress. I like it. Good.
I see. Man, that's tough. I think I'm right around that B as well for the offensive line, because I think what's really bringing that grade up is the pass protection. But like I said before, we're going to have to do a better job of having a solid, more consistent running game. I would love to see this team right around that 180 to 200 yards rushing per game type of stat. To be a little bit, I wouldn't even say more balanced, but to give the defense more things to worry about when you talk about facing this offense. But you can't deny guys like Carson Hinsman, Tegris Tabola, Philip Daniels, Luke Montgomery, and all the moving parts that they have with really 6 to 7 different offensive linemen in that matchup. They're by far one of the best groups in the country with depth experience, and then playing ability. So I think if Ohio State was to commit a little more to the running game, you will see those guys start to move that earth as Beanie just mentioned a little more consistently.
Yeah, I'll say B- because I will say this, in pass protection, you can hide that in various ways as far as the quarterback getting out quickly or buying a little bit of time to move the pocket. To me, like the true metric of what an offensive line is like you said, do they move earth in front of them? And we've seen some things. We're going to actually touch on one here in a minute. We've seen at times they've done it, but I want to see a little bit more. Front seven on the defense. We're talking defensive line and linebacker.
Yeah.
The
only reason I'm not giving you an A+ is because I want to see you guys have something to work for.
Yeah. I mean, this is an obvious A, right, Cardale?
This is an A for me, and I don't think, and I personally don't know which group pulls the grade that high.
Right.
You know, with the rotational guys they have with K-Mac and Caden Curry, and then you on the back end. I mean, Kenyatta Jackson too up front on the front end, and then on the back end of that, you know, that second level of that defense. Clearly, the guys we talked about all year, Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, and everything these guys able to do at that second level position. And I'm even throwing, it's crazy, because what Matt Patricia is doing on defense is a lot of times we're seeing guys like Caleb Downs and Jermaine Matthews Jr. I mean, he had a strip sack a few weeks ago around playing that nickel position. So technically they're part of that front seven in some of those packages. A all day.
Yeah, A, especially capital A for Arvell. You can't spell Arvell without a big old A. Secondary, I'm curious on. Secondary.
I like our secondary. I think, they've been great for the most part. I don't think they've been really tested. And just because I haven't seen them, be tested, and I'm going to be a little hard on you. B+.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right around there as well.
Yep.
And I think they are outside of great individual players. I mean, IGB is playing this year coming back, has done him a lot of justice. The talent has always been there, but I know in the past, the last couple of years here, you worried about some of those penalties when the ball is in the air. And then you got guys like David Shentez, a young guy who's coming in and playing in some big time moments in situations, and then Jermaine Matthews Jr. And then clearly the back end with Caleb and I'm having a brain fart on our other safety right now. But I'm going to give them a B just because they haven't been tested the way that I think a team like Indiana is probably the only team in the Big Ten probably can test them the way you see when you talk about name recognition, you talk about guys who can make plays on the ball. That will be their real first true test on the back end, because Indiana offensive line also can protect. So right now, I think they're just a product of that front seven. And don't get me wrong, they're maximizing their plays. Lorenzo Styles Jr. is another one on that back seven who's doing really good. So I think that's the biggest room for improvement that this defense can have is on the back seven, on the back end.
Yeah, I would say B+ as well. Similar to what you guys said, we thought Texas was a test at the time. Probably wasn't a test based on their passing game at all. Washington was kind of a weird game that could have been a test, but it was like a low play volume, kind of an odd game as well. So for me, they haven't been tested, but I do love what you said about Jermaine Matthews Jr. He's shown some versatility there. Now you have Caleb Downs, who's versatile, and Jermaine's versatile. I think they can do big things. We'll finish up this segment with this. Do you guys have a favorite moment of the season so far that stands out to you?
Ooh, favorite moment.
Mine's just easy.
Well, go ahead. Give me some time to think.
Starting the season off, man, and that play and the clips kind of rewinded all week when we had, I think it was Luke Montgomery, and I think it was Carson Heisman or whoever the left tackle was at the time. I know we rotate a lot with the tackles. And they just took one of the Texas guys about 7 yards down field and on a double team.
That was moving earth.
That was moving earth. I think, I know a lot of times in these type of settings, the big guys up front don't get a lot of love. So that's my favorite moment of the season so far. Outside of all the crazy catches and plays that the defensive guys have been making, that right there was a unbelievable thing that we saw and witnessed between, it was a lot of muscle moving, a lot of mass.
You know what? The thing that sticks out to me, and it's probably my favorite play, and my favorite player on the team, obviously, I'm biased. I don't care. Arvell Reese is the play where he drops back. He starts up front, drops back, and then blitzes and makes the sack.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's called green dogging.
Green dogging.
To for the ones who don't understand. But yeah, so basically get the offensive line eyes off you and then shoot the guy.
Yeah, I mean, his ability to be able to do that and make it look so effortless, that's my favorite play this season.
Yeah, for me, it was the deep ball to Carnell Tate against Texas was such a big moment because it was a big game at a big stage. But for me also, I would say Caden Curry, when he busted out against Washington and just wrecked that game, it was like his I've arrived moment. And as someone who follows this team, I knew of Caden Curry, of course. I didn't think he had it in him. We're talking 9.5 sacks. I didn't think he had that in him.
Yeah, I mean, you see what Caden Curry has done over his time at Ohio State, far as being developed and waiting in that in the shadows into his time. It's pretty cool to see when a guy like that, who's been a program type of guy, finally get the opportunity and then just really take it and grab the bull by the horns. And he's been lights out ever since.
Yeah, that was an awesome game there out there in Seattle. All right, we're just getting started though on The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Coming up next, Beanie Wells has to do some explaining now that he's the coldest picker on set. We'll be right back after this. Breakfast might be the most important choice you make all day. That's because with Wendy's 2 for $3 breakfast, you can mix and match your very own favorite perfect pairing of our delicious morning favorites.
With this breakfast deal, the choice is all yours, not someone else's. Isn't that how breakfast should be? It's your breakfast after all, not Martha's. She can pick her own breakfast. This one is all on you.
No matter what you choose, from our sausage biscuit with that grilled breakfast sausage or the egg and cheese biscuit with freshly cracked grade A egg and melty American cheese on a fluffy buttermilk biscuit, a small size of perfectly seasoned potatoes, or a medium hot coffee to power you through the morning.
All you got to do is pick your favorite ideal morning pair. You really can't lose because you're the one calling the shots. The choice is all yours. Wake up to Wendy's 2 for $3 breakfast just the way you want.
Limited time only during breakfast hours. U.S. prices and participation may vary. No substitutions, not valid in the combo, single item at regular price.
Support for The Script comes from Google. We hear commentators talk all the time about the spread offense, but what if you don't know exactly what that means or what makes it different from other offensive schemes? Well, you can keep wondering or ask your friends and hope they know what they're talking about, or you can use AI mode on Google search.
You can just type, help me understand what a spread option is and why a football team would choose to run it. Yep. You can ask all those questions in one search, and you'll get an organized and helpful AI-powered response with everything you need to know.
But it doesn't end there. Let's say you want to just keep going deeper. With AI mode, you don't have to start a whole new search. You can ask direct follow-ups like, break down how it compares to the pro-style offense based overall philosophy, types of formation, use, and pace.
AI mode is great at these type of comparisons, giving you a side-by-side analysis and helping you get the full story from one question to the next. So if you don't want to just watch the game, but really understand it, you can just ask Google. Welcome back to The Script, a podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Hit us up at The Script OSU on social. You better click subscribe right now if you're watching on YouTube. That's by far the most fun version. All right, time now for our Prime Sportsbook picks of the week. If you haven't checked it out, get on Prime Sportsbook, get on their Prime Rewards program. Whether you win or lose, you're earning points to make free bonus bets. And you want to use those free bonus bets to do whatever Cardale Jones says, because now Beanie Wells is cold. And Beanie, I want you to apologize on the air. You went against my Penn State Golden Flashes last week, and I told you not to do it. And not since Jack Lambert was in that locker room have I seen the Flashes play inspired football.
Dude, that was just crazy. What was the line on that game? It wasn't anything crazy, right?
6.5.
Kent State had been stinking it up all season long, and they decided to play their best game and freaking beat Bowling Green. And I'm thinking, Eddie George, they're motivated. This group has been playing very good, and Kent State's been awful. And this is a guaranteed win for me and everybody else that, joined the parlay. And here I am stinking it up, and Kent State plays lights out on the defensive side, force turnovers, get sacks. I just couldn't believe it. I'm sorry to the people out there in the world.
Cost us a lot of money.
I did. I'm sorry.
A lot of money.
But it was just to show again that I was human.
No.
You're beyond human. No.
We get you human. Stop with the BS.
Shout out to Jack Lambert, Nick Saban, Lou Holtz, Julian Edelman, Antonio Gates, Joshua Cribbs, all the Golden Flashes who were texting me over the weekend saying, actually, none of them texted me. Anyway, all right, so let's talk about some games. We'll give our picks here in a minute, but I want to highlight a few games first here. Tennessee -3 at home against Oklahoma. Early thoughts on this one, Volunteers and Sooners.
I like Tennessee in this football game. I think Oklahoma, obviously, they're still a good football team defensively. They got some kinks to work out on the offensive side. Last week, we saw them, lack in the running game consistently. They didn't get it going to the second half. And then John Mateer just hasn't been the same John Mateer to start the season. Now, obviously, we know he had the surgery on the hand. He has to get back into a groove, but I don't think it's going to happen versus a Tennessee football team.
Yeah, I like Tennessee in this one as well. I think the game actually will be a little bit closer than that. I can see it being a 2-to-1 point game. John Mateer on the opposite side of the ball, like Beanie said, hasn't been the guy we've seen in the first couple of weeks, and clearly we can try that to the injury and still trying to recover to 100% from that surgery. But Tennessee, man, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, a game that I think is interesting. Ohio State, we touched on it in the opening block there. -20 at home against Penn State. As I said, guys, 4 straight losses for the Nittany Lions, but by a combined 13 points. So I feel like the public is making Penn State out to be worse than they are. But at the same time, if Ethan Grunkmeyer can't score points in the shoe and Penn State only scores 7, 27-7 seems very easy for the Buckeyes.
Yeah. That's what I'm of the belief. I don't think the young quarterback is going to be able to do much versus this Ohio State defense. We've been stifling teams. We're giving up 5.5 points.
Yeah.
I mean, the lowest in the country. And, that's the reason why I think the line the way it is. Ohio State's offense is going to score. Not to say that they're going to, pit up 40, 50 points, but nonetheless, like you just mentioned, if they could score 27 points and, they'd give up a touchdown, that's the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think our defense come up with 2 big turnovers in this game. One of those things are going to lead to like a score for the defense, but I think we capitalize on both of them. I understand the line completely. Young quarterback, only got 1. This is his second technically start. I mean, when he got in the rest of the Northwestern game, didn't look great. Made some mistakes there. Iowa, clearly the different beast out there playing in Iowa. And now going on the road again in Columbus here is, I like the line actually at 20.5 points. I think it's a line that is one of the most respectable of the whole week. I just don't see this Penn State team scoring over 10 points on Ohio State.
Yeah, that's the problem. If it's 31-6, they get the cover there. I just don't see Penn State scoring points in this game. I highlighted this one, Texas -2 home against Vanderbilt. And the reason I highlight this is these 2 guys love the Commodores more than Lionel Richie. These guys have been on the Commodores since,
that's a good one, man.
since August. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to ride Vandy here in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I don't understand this line. I mean, so Texas -2.5. They're the favorite at home.
-2 at home.
Yeah, I don't get it. Obviously, when you look at Texas's offense, I think right there should be a glaring thing to say, no, we're not going to score that many points. 1. And then 2, when you look at how good Vanderbilt's defense has been all throughout the season, you got to say, I mean, this is going to be a barn buster type of football game. And Diego Pavia and what they do on the offensive side for Vanderbilt is nothing short of amazing. He galvanizes that team like nobody else in the country. So to say -2, you're going to be a favorite, now it ain't going to happen.
This is another one that's interesting. I'm taking the points right here with Vandy. I think it's the safest bet outside of taking Vandy money line. But Texas, I think what this spread has indicated over the last 2 weeks, coming back, I think last week and down 17 points in the fourth
Mississippi
quarter.
State. Yeah.
And then going into Kentucky with another, pretty much fourth quarter win. But 2 lesser opponents in the SEC. Vandy is more battle tested. They just beat a really good Missouri team at home. I know both of you ended up getting hurt, but I'm taking Vandy in the points in this one.
Okay, that's probably going to run.
Vandy's going to be a playoff team, in my opinion.
I think it's the safest bet, Vandy in the points, but I do think Vandy's going to win this game.
Okay, I actually like Texas in that game. Call me crazy. I think Texas is going to figure it out here against Vandy at home. All right, let's go to the NFL quickly. Bengals, 2.5-point dogs at home against the Bears. Now, we've seen Joe Flacco move the ball. Joe Flacco, doesn't matter if he's 20, 30, 40, 50, he's still going to drop back 50 times and throw the ball. But they're 2.5-point dogs at home to the Bears.
Yeah, I don't necessarily, I think Chicago's been playing good, right? But the quarterback hasn't been great, but it's been their defensive play that's gotten them over the hump in terms of winning games. I just don't think that they should be a dog in this game. I think Cincinnati will light it up. I think their defense will come to play. They will cause some turnovers that Caleb Wilson has been prone to throw. So I think the Bengals, definitely cover in this game.
You know what? I think when you look at the Bears in a way, my boy, JT Barrett, he has Caleb Williams playing a little better than he has been playing his first 2 years. Really, especially being his first year in this Ben Johnson's offense. Trying to protect the ball better, taking more risk-reward shots down the field. I like the Bears in this one for biased reasons. You know? I mean, also, I know they just dropped their first game in the last 5.
Yeah.
But the Bears, they're looking completely different since that new staff has got in
that
they really
building.
Have. So I like the Bears.
Yeah, the Bengals coming off just a devastating loss.
Shouldn't have lost that game versus the Jets.
To the 0-7 Jets. And we love Justin Fields, but you cannot lose a game when you score 38 points if you're Cincinnati. Browns are on a bye this week, so there's nothing to pick, but I did want to get your guys' thoughts on Myles Garrett. 5 sacks in a losing effort. And there was the video of him slamming his helmet over there. Like when Myles Garrett was slamming his helmet, 5 sacks in a losing effort, that's how Cardale feels when we miss our parlay picks.
Every time.
He's slamming his he's like, what do I got to do? So what do you guys think about Myles Garrett? 5 sacks in a loss.
Dude, he was unreal in that football game. All over the field. He was unstoppable. But nonetheless, in a losing effort, you can't really blame, anything that got to do with the defense for the Browns. It's all the offense. They can't move the ball. They can't score. They got to get some things figured out and get it figured out quickly because you are wasting a generational talent in Myles Garrett. And when he has a performance like that, that's an all-time great performance, and they lose and it's not even a close game, kind of embarrassing.
Yeah. It sucks that, he's on a team on the offensive side of the ball that never really invested on the offensive side of the ball outside of missing a huge investment with the quarterback position. With the contract that they got tied up in with Deshaun and Watson is really forcing their hand not to be able to do anything else. But yeah, I mean, that game, he was just a man amongst boys. And many of the games he played in, it just sucks that he's on a team that seemed not to be able to figure it out.
Yeah, it's brutal as a Browns fan. And all 3 of us grew up in Northeast Ohio. You consider Joe Thomas and Myles Garrett are probably top 5 all time at their positions.
Yeah.
And they blew both of their careers. It's honestly depressing. Okay,
well, I can't be too mad about Myles Garrett. I mean, he did indeed take the $40 million.
So that's
another deal right there.
That is the flip side. He said, "I want to go to a winning team," and then they said, "What about this pile of money?"
He took it.
Yeah,
you didn't have to take it.
You go buy you a team.
Yeah, you buy a winning team when you're done playing. All right, so let's get to our picks this week. I'm going to leave you for last, Cardale, since you've been red hot. I'm going to open up with the 49ers minus 2.5 at the Giants. The Niners are coming off an ugly loss to the Texans. I don't think Kyle Shanahan drops back-to-back. At some point, midnight is going to happen for Jackson Dart. He's going to look around and say, I don't have Malik Neighbors. I don't have that many weapons on offense. So I think the Niners...
Scatterboo just got out.
Scatterboo out for the year now. So I think the Niners have a get-right spot here, even though they're headed to the East Coast.
I actually like that one.
Thank you.
I do.
I'm not sure. That would have made me feel great a month ago, but all right.
I got to take Tulane versus UTSA. I want to say that line is minus 2.5 or minus 3.5, one of the two, nonetheless. But Tulane's been playing great. UTSA, not so much. And I pay attention to UTSA because my former running backs coach is the running back coach at the university. So I'm always talking to Tommy Robinson and, checking in on how they're doing. Although they do have, I think, the leading rusher in the country at running back, who's a beast and been balling. But nonetheless, Tulane's very good. They only lost 1 game this year. They may be the group of 5 team that makes it to the college football playoff.
Okay.
Let's see. Nice pick. I'm going to take a team that's not being talked about enough, not just around college football, but in our own freaking state. The Cincinnati Bearcats, 8.5 plus 8.5 on the road at Utah. Now, Utah's a really good team. Cincinnati can score. Cincinnati can play some good defense. And I became a believer in Cincinnati when they put a shellacking on Iowa State when they came across the country and sent them back with some Skyline chilies back to Iowa. So I like this game. I'm taking the points right if I'm a better for the Bearcats. And Cincinnati is one of my sleeper teams that make the college football playoffs because they're right in the driver's seat still of winning the Big 12.
Nice. And you remember who picked Iowa State the day they lost at Cincinnati?
I did. I actually did. I piggybacked. I like that bet. I'm like, it's so good.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I shouldn't have jumped on the Dave bandwagon.
Yeah, Matt Campbell, you let us down in that one. All right, one other team I want to touch on here, Beanie. You are passionate about the Iowa Hawkeyes, who are still unranked at 6-2. You think Iowa deserves a little number next to them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just went through their schedule a little bit before the show, and their losses were to
Iowa State
in the early part of the year.
By a field goal,
which was a tough football game. And then they ended up, who was the other team they lost to?
It was
Indiana.
Indiana. And they only lost by 5.
And they played Indiana tough.
Yeah, they played Indiana, the toughest Indiana's been played all season long.
I got an argument for you, but keep going.
But and their quarterback, Mark Gronowski, it's been lights out. Now he's not throwing the ball all over the place, but he's running the ball. But the last time, we checked, when's the last time we could sit here and say an Iowa team could consistently score over 25, 30 points?
World War II.
Exactly.
It's been a minute.
Iowa always could play defense. Now they're playing offense.
Yeah.
They're playing complementary football, and they're in a position right now to where they're, in my opinion, one of the 3-4 best teams in the Big Ten. They should be ranked.
They should be ranked. And I don't understand how, when you look at their quality losses that you guys love to talk about versus a ranked Iowa State team, in-state rivalry, and versus the number 2 team in the country. How, sorry guys, here come another F-bomb. How the they ain't ranked. And we got Notre Dame sitting at number 5.
That's crazy.
Right.
That really is wild.
Help me out here. How? How is that even possible? And you look at Iowa's quality wins. I would say Minnesota last week versus good Minnesota team. They put a whooping on them. And then I can't even remember all their wins.
Pounded Wisconsin.
They shut out Wisconsin 37-0 at home. They scored more points on Wisconsin than Ohio State did. And we're talking about quality wins and quality losses, and you got a team like Notre Dame. Love you, Marcus Freeman. Love Notre Dame. Love all. I'm not saying they shouldn't be in the rankings, but how is Iowa not ranked? And Notre Dame is number 5. And their resume is a lot better.
Yeah.
It just tells me the AP voters don't know what they're doing, or they're not even paying attention.
Kevin Carter, we coming for you.
Right. Well, you guys gonna rip on the media now? I feel attacked.
Some of those. There was a lady, right, who came out at the beginning of the year, talked about how she didn't even really pay attention to what was going on. It was right now in the earlier part of the season.
It was something like I think it was after Florida A&M beat Florida, and she moved the Gators up like 6 spots after the loss, and she got called out for it. She's like, well, I don't want to get into my methods too much, but and like literally,
it was just clear she didn't watch.
Yeah, just didn't watch.
It's certain people who do their analysis off the stat sheet, and then certain people who actually watch the game and see how things play out, and then kind of draw an analysis from that. It's not many people who does it the second way.
But the AP needs to get a hold of that, though, because that makes you, less credible when you have people voting for, spots for these college football teams and they're not even paying attention. You need to make sure there's a criteria in which they're going by.
Yeah, and exactly that. And everybody's criteria is a little different, right? Because they try to play, okay, look how they played this team, look at the quality losses and look at their resume and stuff like that. But what's really hurting these programs is these rankings is a lot to do with recruiting as well, versus just throwing a Notre Dame team. And this is not a shot at Notre Dame at all, but putting that team up there, and then I looked at like how over the last couple of weeks, and finally they seem to get it right, having LSU in the top 25.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. Right. That stuff, they're looking for more brand recognition and historical things that these teams have done versus what have we seen in the present from these universities and these programs.
100% agree.
If you guys love debating rankings, then stay tuned because we have a big debate here coming up on who is number 1 and who deserves to be number 1. That's coming up next on The Script.
For Buckeyes and businesses, Branded Bills has you covered. Whether you're showing your scarlet and gray pride or you're building a brand of your own, nothing tops a custom hat.
Branded Bills is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics with licensed Buckeye headgear that looks just as good in the horseshoe as it does when you're walking around Columbus. And beyond game day, they specialize in custom headwear that helps businesses, teams, and communities stand out with premium fit, finish, and style.
So whether you are a diehard Buckeye, an entrepreneur, or just someone who want to rep their story, check out Branded Bills. Explore their official licensed Ohio State collection or design your own custom hat built just for you. Branded Bills for Buckeyes and businesses, licensed pride, custom style.
You know that feeling when your team wins? It's electric. You're pacing the room, texting your group chat, yelling like you called the game-winning play yourself. Now imagine that winning energy hits right as your DoorDash order arrives. Perfect timing. Drinks are cold, pizza's hot, wings and fries perfectly crispy. Now you're not just a fan, you're a winner. DoorDash turns every good college football game day into a great one with game day favorites delivered right to your door right when you need them most. So go ahead, ride that high, celebrate the W. Just try not to spike the remote out of excitement when that food shows up. Your team wins, you win. DoorDash delivers the W in food form. Welcome back to The Script, a podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Follow us on all social at The Script OSU. Subscribe right now on YouTube. Our subscribership is blowing up because the video version is so much fun. All right, let's get into a debate here, guys. The Ohio State Buckeyes are number 1. All 3 people on set, I'm sure, think the Ohio State Buckeyes are the best team in college football. Yeah? Agree?
Yes.
Whoa,
I don't know.
Hesitation from Mr. Wells.
Yeah, there is a lot of hesitation for me because the issues that we talked about are on the offensive end. I think Ohio State has the best defense by far in the country. I think Indiana has the best offense in the country. They can run the ball really well. Obviously, we know what Fernando Mendoza has been doing. Omar Cooper Jr., Elijah Surratt. They got two of the top wide receivers in the country, in my opinion. I don't know. I think Indiana may have something to say about being the number one team in the country.
I knew something was up. He showed up in a blue vest today, Cardale, and it was over. It was over from there.
This is what I can say about both teams, Indiana and Ohio State. And it's pretty cool to be talking about the two best teams in the country is right here in our backyard. I don't think Indiana offense has been tested the way Ohio State defense can test him. I don't think Ohio State offense has been tested the way Indiana defense can test them.
Right.
So I think when you're talking about, okay, clearly we're taking an Ohio State defense, best defense in the country, Indiana offense, best offense in the country. What do they say win championships? Defense. So that's why they're my number one team in the country.
Okay, let me ask you this. Texas A&M, and I know you guys are going to shake your head at this based on what we heard in the last block, wins at Notre Dame, at LSU, and we understand we're going to talk Brian Kelly in a second here. What do you guys think about Texas A&M's resume? Because I think the case that the country has against Ohio State is, yeah, we think they're the best team on talent. But if you go by resume, Ohio State really doesn't have many big quality wins.
No, they don't. But, when you break down and you look at Texas A&M's, people are just talking about the SEC in its entirety, saying that this is the best conference forward and beyond. But I think people are inaccurate when they break it down, because when you go back and you look at, some of the bowl games versus the Big Ten versus the SEC, even our lower tier Big Ten teams have beaten those SEC teams. So you got to put more respect on the Big Ten as a whole. And I don't think people are doing that. And that's why people are going and saying Ohio State's resume is kind of weak. No, they play quality teams. Look at the teams that the Big Ten plays outside of the conference. They win a lot of those football games. And yeah, you can sit there and say Notre Dame has been great. They are. I don't think LSU was a very good football team, so I'm not putting that on their resume and saying, this stamps, their season approval in terms of, the teams that they had to play. LSU's not good. They can't move the ball on offense. They can't run the ball, and defense have traditionally give up a lot of points. So LSU, I'm not putting that in that column for them, in my opinion.
Same, but I'm gonna go back to the Notre Dame loss. Notre Dame win. They should have lost the game. Who bobbles a snap and miss an extra point field goal? Like we're not talking about A&M as a top 5 team. They'll still be a top 10 team, and it's still a college football playoff team. But that resume of the way you won, I think I'm gonna hold that over their heads, just like a few years ago when Ohio State ran the game winning touchdown versus Notre Dame up in Notre Dame stadium when them had 10 guys on the field.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, what have they done? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh, they beat Notre Dame. Okay, I guess, whatever. But I think when you talk about the top 4 or 5 teams in the Big Ten versus top 4 or 5 teams in the SEC, I'm taking the Big Ten.
Yeah,
I'm taking the Big Ten.
And here's the thing about the SEC. It has decades of confirmation bias. So for decades, people have just assumed these brands are dominant. So you say, well, Florida and LSU, teams like that are just good. Well, they both have unemployed coaches right now. They're not that
It
good. Goes
deeper than that. You got the brand recognition that's not what it used to be. Florida right now, LSU, Mississippi State, South Carolina. I'm not going to throw Texas in the SEC conference conversations yet.
Right.
If I'm talking about historical brand recognitions for those conferences. And then, so you got 4 or 5 right there that people try to give you more credit if you go out there and beat those teams, where it's just like, Tim Tebow ain't walking down that tunnel right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, who is my guy? I used to, name another South Carolina legend. Running back. Jesus Christ, what's his name?
You're talking Jadeveon Clowney would be not a running back,
but he ain't walking down there. But my guy who blew his knee out.
Marcus Lattimore.
Lattimore. Right. He was a dog. Yeah, he ain't walking down that tunnel right now.
Yeah.
But he's got putting up some points. So, I think we got to get away from that historical brand recognition versus who and how the guys are playing right now. Prime example, Indiana.
Yeah. And I'll put Iowa up against South Carolina right now and say Iowa's going to win that game.
Smoke them.
Exactly.
And I want to say smoke them. Iowa will
they'll beat them handily. And when you break down Alabama, what we just saw, Alabama and South Carolina, Alabama should have lost that game.
Should have lost that game.
Yeah, so you can go down the list and compare teams and games, and I'll take a lot of the Big Ten teams over them. And it's not just Big Ten bias. I'm a realist.
Yeah, I think now where the SEC does have the Big Ten, I think when you talk about the lower level SEC teams versus the lower level Big Ten teams, they will kill us. Their lower level SEC
Their
teams.
bottom 6 is better than our bottom 6.
All right, so give me our bottom 6.
I would say Rutgers, Wisconsin. I already got smoked by Bama.
Yeah.
Rutgers, Wisconsin.
You put like UCLA Northwestern down there.
UCLA Northwestern.
I think Northwestern is a better team than some of those. I'll take Rutgers. I'll take Maryland. If we're going to talk about, is Maryland a bottom tier or they middle of the road?
I think they're middle of the road right now.
You know what we're finding out? The only Big Ten team Beanie doesn't like is Ohio State. he loves everyone else in the conference, except the Buckeyes got to prove something to this guy.
Yeah, in the last couple of years, Michigan been beating Alabama in a bowl game.
That's true.
So.
That's true. All right, let's talk about Brian Kelly here. All right, time now for our Buckeye Basement Solution. And just like Buckeye Basement Solutions will diagnose anything you need in your home, we do that for teams here in college football. So our Buckeye Basement Solution for LSU, Brian Kelly fired at 5-3. Since then, former players have come out and started basically talking about Brian Kelly. And it makes me wonder if anyone has ever liked Brian Kelly based on what I've heard.
It don't seem like it. And we talked about this early in the season on the show when you had guys, when he left and took the LSU job. Brian Kelly was one of the first coaches to leave not mid-season, but before the bowl game with this new transfer portal window to leave a team getting ready for a freaking bowl game to go and pretty much to another competitor because you guys are going to recruit a lot of the same kids. He was on the same, and no one from that team, that Notre Dame team, left and went in the portal.
Right.
And it wasn't even like, it was before they even found out Marcus Freeman was going to be the coach. It wasn't
Thank God he did leave at that time, so Marcus Freeman had a chance to coach him.
Exactly. So, and then you hear the stories from his former players talk about the environment now with Marcus Freeman at the helm versus when he was there, or the relationship after football versus Kelly and Freeman. And then now the players and his short stint at LSU. I knew this was going to be a dumpster fire from the very beginning. You know, and I said this back on Twitter, of course, and pulling it up. It's just like his first freaking press conference or his first public speaking there, he magically found a Southern accent.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know what Cardale's talking about, so he goes out there in front of the arena, and he goes out there, and all of a sudden, Brian Kelly, he's been in Baton Rouge for like 3 days. He's just like, it's going to be sweeter than molasses when we win that national championship. I do declare. And I'm like,
I was about to give another F-bomb. What the F?
I was like, what is he doing? What the f*** is that? You know, but one thing I say about that pocket, and we talked about this, that pocket of the country where I think the best football is played, where you have teams like LSU, Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Florida State, all in that pocket, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, all in that probably 10-hour, 12-hour driving radius of major universities. You got to be able to go in that backyard and recruit that area. And I said he would never be able to do that because those families, those people can see through that BS from a mile away.
Phony, baby.
Oh my God, can see through that stuff a mile away. And that's what they did.
Yeah, I think it started at Cincinnati too. I mean, there's a lot of guys that he's coached that really have nothing good to say about him. And the thing that keeps going on in my mind is, I don't know if you guys have seen it lately, but I remember it happening during a game where it was I don't know whether it was a staffer or a player that wasn't dressed, and he's like literally yoking and grabbing his guy up for whatever reason. It's like, and then the other coach is kind of getting in between him, and he started grabbing the coach up. Like, dude, you're not a likable person. I don't want to be around a guy that can't control himself on the sideline with his players and coaches. I mean,
I might want to play for that guy.
Yeah, at all.
Okay, let's diagnose another Buckeye Basement Solution in Colorado right now. Deion Sanders is 3-5. All right, I mean, he just got shellacked by Utah. They lost 53-7. They are now 14th in the Big 12. Imagine explaining that to an alien. They say, hey, we got this conference that's called the Big 12, and they're in 14th place in the Big 12. So, guys, Deion Sanders won Sportsman of the Year back in 2023. When they went 4-8 that year. I remember like shaking my head, like, what's going on? But he was kind of like the poster child for the new era of NIL transfer portal coming off his time in Jackson State. I kind of understood that Deion was kind of like the new it guy in what college football was about to become. But other than having a Heisman Trophy winner and a really good son and then losing in the Alamo Bowl, he has a losing record in 3 seasons. So do you think Deion is still the guy as a long-term solution in Colorado?
Man, it's tough. One, I knew it would be tough in Colorado. I thought, obviously, he would be polarizing, would draw eyes there initially. But outside of, when you lose Travis Hunter, you lose your son, who was a damn good quarterback, I knew it would be tough. It's tough to recruit people there. And, I think the one caveat that you have to really go back and dissect and really understand is that before he got there, nobody was talking about Colorado. And Colorado was like a 0-12 team. They wasn't winning games. So him, one, bringing dollars and cents there and, bringing the eyes and then bringing the upgraded, if you could, win 50% more of your games in the previous year, that's looked at as a success.
Yeah.
And he's done that. So I think you can give him credit for that. But is it a long-term deal? It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard.
I think the worst thing that happened to Colorado is when they went out and beat Nebraska and or was it TCU? I think it was TCU.
TCU early
a couple of years ago.
That was like his first landmark win.
And it was like, I'm here now. And you see what the players were saying and stuff like that. I guess if I'm Nebraska higher ups, I'm asking what's more important, that people are coming to see more so of the antics that I'm putting on the sidelines, or who's going to be at the game, or putting the butts in the seats no matter what the product looks like is on the field, or do we want to start competing to be relevant in the Big 12? Because they're not relevant in the Big 12, but somehow, some way, because of Deion and the things he's able to do, and his charisma and the coaching staff and all the antics that goes on, so DJ in the locker room. Me personally, I can't play for someone like that. Like, the main thing is winning games, right? But you can't deny that his culture is helping the university in other ways than just winning football games.
Right.
Versus what we ultimately judging a coach off, and if it's winning football games. So if I'm Colorado, I was like, what's more important? I'm still getting my enrollment up because of what he's doing with the football program. Not a really good football program, but everything outside of football that comes with him. So
yeah, the one I want to see is him to eventually find his way back to Florida State. If they do this comprehensive analysis of the program, I think it'd be fun to see him at Florida State and see what he can do there.
But is that the risk of reward there? You say, hey, we're going to take a chance on a guy that's not proven to win at a very smaller level of Big 12 to I want to say smaller level Big 12 because Big 12 ACC.
Yeah, no, right.
I want a guy who taking over a historic program like Florida State over Colorado. Like, Colorado is a stepping stone of like, okay, show me you can do it here. Now I can trust you with a Florida State,
and
Penn State. That's where I'm at with it. Yeah. Like, are you banking on the name recognition, building a program back up versus the body of work?
Yeah. Well, we're trying to diagnose problems here with Colorado and LSU. That is our Buckeye Basement Solutions. Get on BuckeyeBasementSolutions.com or give them a call, 614-956-4592. Now, guys, we finished tonight with a story that it's so sad. But it needs to be talked about because we've got to do a tribute here to Nick Mangold, a Buckeye legend who was an All-American, a first-round draft pick. He is in the Jets Ring of Honor. He was a 7-time Pro Bowler, but who tragically passed away at 41 from kidney disease this week. Beanie, I was thinking Nick Mangold was just leaving Ohio State as you were coming in, right? Did you ever cross paths with him?
I did. I always came down here a lot when I was in high school, coming down to visit. And I remember being on a visit, and there was a bar. I can't think of the name of it on High Street. It was Buckeye something. Was it Bucknuts? I can't remember. But anyways, I go in this bar. I'm with Antonio Pittman. He's my host. We go to the bar. The whole team goes to. Who I run to? I run into AJ Hawk. I run into Bobby Carpenter, and I see Nick Mangold. And just the coolest, warmest, welcoming guy that I had ever encountered. And the fact that, he was all-world here at Ohio State. And I'm like, dang. This guy's legitimately cool, a good dude. And then obviously, going on to play pro ball playing against the Jets and seeing him across the NFL landscape, just having that Buckeye brotherhood and just being able to, go after the games or before the game, shake hands, say what's up to guys. He was always warm and welcoming, but his dominance and his presence was always felt, one on the field, but then off the field just because of the person that he was.
Yeah, I unfortunately didn't have a chance to meet him in no aspects of life, but clearly know what he meant to the Ohio State and Buckeye Nation. And you go into the offensive line meeting rooms at the Woody Hayes facility. Even before this last couple of weeks, I know he came out publicly about what he was dealing with privately. He was always the gold standard in that room, and guys like Orlando Pace, and now more former guys like Taylor Decker and some Billy Prices of the world and stuff like that. But he was a gold staple, and what it was to be an Ohio State lineman on and off the field.
Yeah, it was great to see some of the tributes this week. Seeing Rex Ryan, former New York Jet head coach, really we talk about him, and you can tell he was beloved, and we loved him too. I mean, for what he did on the field, but also just for carrying himself the way he did off the field. So Thoughts and prayers this week certainly go out to the Mangold family. That'll do it for this week of The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll see you back here next week as the Buckeyes get ready for Purdue.